You won't believe what this little girl told the police. What she said changed everything. And by the end, you'll understand why some truths are buried not just in the ground, but in silence. This is the story of Emily, and the secret she carried in her tiny heart that no one believed, until they had to. It started on a rainy Tuesday afternoon in the small, gray-skied town of Millstone. A quiet place where everyone knew everyone, and nothing ever truly happened. But that day, a child's words would break the silence and stir a truth that had been buried for months, literally. 7-year-old Emily Harper stood on her tiptoes at the front desk of the Millstone police station. Her clothes were damp, her cheeks flushed, and her hands clutched the frayed edge of a pink stuffed rabbit. Officer Diane Whitaker, a seasoned cop with a sharp instinct for nonsense, nearly brushed the child off. But there was something in Emily's eyes, a haunted, pleading look. That made Diane crouch down and listen. "My daddy's not dead," Emily whispered. "He's under the floor." A cold chill ran down Diane's spine. She blinked. "Honey, what do you mean?" "They told me he went away. But I hear him sometimes. I saw where they put him. Under the floor. In the basement." Diane glanced at the other officers, expecting someone to chuckle. No one did. The room was silent. A few hours later, a team of officers and social workers were at the Harper residence. It was a modest, 2-story house at the edge of town, wrapped in overgrown vines and sadness. Emily's mother, Claire Harper, greeted them with puffy eyes and a trembling voice. "She's confused," Claire said quickly. "Ever since James passed, she hasn't been right." But Officer Diane noticed how Claire's hands wouldn't stop shaking. How she avoided Emily's eyes. How she stood between them and the door to the basement. "I just want to take a look," Diane said calmly. "You can't," Claire snapped. "It's not safe down there. Mold. Black mold." But the law didn't need permission when a child made an allegation of danger. The door was opened. And that's when they started digging. James Harper had been declared missing 6 months earlier. A devoted father, a quiet man, a school teacher who volunteered at the library and planted sunflowers in his yard each spring. The kind of man people said would never walk out on his daughter. Claire told everyone he had a breakdown. That he left a note. That the pressure of bills and life had finally gotten to him. But there was no note. No trace. No credit card use. No sightings. Just gone. And now, the wooden planks of the basement were being torn apart while Emily stood at the top of the stairs, holding her rabbit. She didn't blink when they uncovered the tarp. The body was confirmed. James Harper. A shallow grave under concrete and plastic. Cause of death, blunt force trauma. Estimated time, around the date Claire had told people he'd left. Claire was arrested on the spot, screaming that it was an accident. That she didn't mean to. That they'd been fighting about money, and he said things, terrible things. That he raised his hand, and she just grabbed the nearest thing. A wrench. And then it was too late. Emily had seen it all. The trauma was so deep she had locked the memory away. Or tried. But children can't always silence the truth like adults do. At the child psychologist's office later, Emily would describe it in broken phrases. "Daddy fell, and Mommy cried, and then she told me never to talk about it. She said if I did, they'd take me away forever." What followed was a media storm that swallowed Millstone whole. The trial, the coverage, the debates about domestic abuse, trauma, and the way grief twists the mind. Claire was sentenced to 15 years for manslaughter. Emily was placed into temporary foster care. But her story didn't end in a courtroom. It began again with a woman named Helen. Helen Raines was 63, widowed, and retired. She had fostered children before but none since her husband passed away. Still, something about Emily's story moved her. Maybe it was the way Emily held her rabbit like it was a piece of her soul. Maybe it was the way Emily stared out windows, like she was waiting for someone who was never coming. So Helen took her in. The first night, Emily didn't speak. The second night, she had a nightmare that shook the house. But on the third night, Helen sang a lullaby her mother used to sing to her, and Emily sang along. Slowly, piece by piece, Emily returned. Over time, Emily learned that the truth hurts, but hiding it hurts more. She started school again. She made friends. She learned to ride a bike. She still saw a therapist every week, but now she told stories with her whole voice. And Helen, who had thought her life was winding down, found a reason to wake up early and smile at the sunrise. 10 years passed. Emily Harper stood on a stage in front of her high school graduating class as the valedictorian. Her voice clear, her eyes steady. "I used to think the worst thing that could happen to you was being hurt by someone you love," she said. "But it's not. The worst thing is being too afraid to speak. I know what it's like to carry something so heavy it makes your heart feel like a stone. But I also know that one voice, just one, can uncover the truth. That silence can bury love. But truth sets it free." She looked toward the front row. Helen was there, smiling with teary eyes, holding the same pink rabbit, now faded, but still whole. So if you ever hear a child whisper something strange, listen. If you ever feel something's off, even if the world says it's fine, look deeper. Because sometimes the truth isn't loud. It's quiet. It's buried. It's whispered by a little girl clutching a stuffed rabbit in the rain. And it's waiting to be heard. End message: always listen. Always believe the ones too small to shout. Because sometimes, the smallest voices carry the loudest truths. Emily's courage saved her. Her voice saved others. And maybe, it will save someone you know too.